Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching TT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. West Asia ceasefire appears shaky. Donald Trump accuses both Israel and Iran of violating truce. India's Operation Sindhu continues in full swing. 2,576 Indian nationals evacuated from Iran so far. 594 Indians flown back from Israel. NATO leaders gather in The Hague. Discussions focus on boosting defense spendings amid rising global tensions. In cricket, India and England Test poised for a thrilling finish. All eyes on Indian bowlers as visitors look to start the tour with a win. The big story in latest in the Israel-Iran conflict, Israeli military has reported 2 missiles fired from Iran mid-morning on Tuesday after US President Trump announced a ceasefire plan. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said, in light of the severe violation of the ceasefire carried out by the Iranian regime, Israel would respond forcefully to Iran's violation of the ceasefire. He also ordered the military to strike Tehran. According to Iranian state media, Iran has denied it launched any missiles at Israel in the last few hours. Meanwhile, as US President Donald Trump departs for NATO summit on Tuesday, he said he was not happy either of the countries for violating the ceasefire, but he didn't like that Israel unloaded right after agreeing to the deal. Trump further added that Iran's nuclear capabilities are gone. He warned Israel not to drop any more bombs on Iran, or it would be a major violation.
I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there, absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone.
And DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us for more on this. Jessica, Donald Trump expresses displeasure against both Israel and Iran for risking ceasefire. What do you make of the tone and tenor of what Trump said?
Well, you just heard President Donald Trump, before he could board Air Force One, he spoke to the reporters and he said, as we just played out for our viewers a short while ago, that he is displeased about the fact that this, ceasefire has not really come into effect, a ceasefire that he announced late last night and would have ensured 12-day peace and cessation of any firing or any military hostilities between the two nations. But that apparently has not taken place, with the barrage of missiles being fired from both sides. The situation still remains grim at this point, and to be able to give our viewers an overall view of what's happening in the region is certainly getting more and more precarious in a way that the situation is evolving at this point. But what you understand from Donald Trump, Shubhendu, is interesting, because you go back to a few months where in March there was a press conference held by National Intelligence Chief Tulsi Gabbard, and in which she had told the reporters that according to the intelligence that she has received from both the US and their other allies, that Iran is about a year or so away from building nuclear weapons. Yes, they have many centrifuges that are now keeping and housing enriched uranium that is weapons grade and is potentially lethal, but it was nowhere close to building a nuclear weapon. That is what she told the reporters back then. But now you see the the friction within the US administration as well, which is what a lot of American media is also reporting about. The fact that, Donald Trump then later on comes out just when the strikes, after the strikes on the nuclear facilities in Iran, he says that Iran was just about a week away from building those bombs, chiming in what the Israelis were saying when they started their raids on Iranian military installations as well as the nuclear facilities. While it required the US to use B-2 bombers, as what Donald Trump is also very proud of, his military has been able to use and successfully execute an operation, a military operation, which was which was carried out late in the night, which is Iranian time, approximately after 2 a.m., a surprise attack, and certainly a very, very expensive attack, that too, as well, is what we're given to understand. But you see the friction within the administration on the intelligence received about the potential building of a nuclear weapon seems to have created some conflicting narratives, and perhaps what Donald Trump seems to believe is that the nuclear facilities have been struck and Iran has been thrown back for at least about a year when it comes to building nuclear weapons.
Right. And Jessica, coming back to what Trump said, it's rare to see an American president reprimand Israel in public like the way he just did. What is your sense of how his message would be received by Israel and Iran?
Would you recall, his message to the core MAGA base, Shubedu, you'd recall what his message was, that he doesn't want America to be involved in any other wars outside its territory. In fact, he's been so busy and occupied looking at the difficult situation and conflicts and protests back home. You saw what happened in LA last week, and the frequent protests that we're seeing against the ICE raids or the immigration and customs enforcement raids that Donald Trump and his administration have now changed the policy for immigration, and certainly has been creating a lot of chaos for the country at this point. But with this current set of situations that he is faced with, there has been no achievement unlocked, so to say, in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. There's not much peace achieved between Israel and Iran as well. Tensions have only heightened. We saw the base in Qatar being attacked yesterday, although the American administration says that all their military personnel were evacuated from that base in Qatar. But still, there are hostilities that continue. So, people back home who he speaks to, mostly internationally, and we're now getting used to an American president who will provide us real-time, analysis, and in fact his point of view. So all of us as foreign correspondents also getting used to the fact that there will be enough available as an analysis or an understanding of what the United States president seems to think about wars and conflicts, and how he's going to assure his people that there will be no body bags or no attacks on the US troops stationed across the Middle East, and there are about 43,000 of them, Shubhendu. So that's going to be a big question for his people to get answers to.
Things do seem unpredictable, to say the least. Jessica, thank you for those updates. India's Operation Sindhu, meanwhile, continues in full swing. India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margareta, received 281 Indian, 3 Sri Lankan and 2 Nepalese nationals evacuated from Iran. They arrived in New Delhi on a special flight from Mashhad at about 1500 hours IST on Tuesday. 2,576 Indian nationals have now been brought home from Iran as well as part of Operation Sindhu. The third flight from Sharm el-Sheikh landed on Tuesday carrying 268 Indians. The C-17 Globemaster of the Indian Air Force landed at Air Force Station Palam in Delhi at about 11:40 IST. The flight was received by Union Minister L. Murugan. A total of 594 Indians have returned so far from Israel as part of Operation Sindhu. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke to some of these passengers who have been evacuated under Operation Sindhu.
As you can see, C-17 has just landed from Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, and I have with me some of the evacuees. There are 268 in number. Let's talk to them. How has been your experience, and what do you have to say about the government, about the Indian Air Force, about the embassy?
I am overwhelmed, honestly speaking, because when we left Israel from our institute, which is also hit by one of the missiles of Iran, I am from Weizmann Institute in Israel, we were told that we'll be traveling in a chartered airplane from Egypt. So the journey from Israel to Egypt was close to 10 to 12 hours on bus, and after that we reached Egypt. We were greeted with the Indian embassy people from Cairo. They were there with us. we were given dinner and we were asked like if we need rooms to share. We all thought that we are going to stay overnight in Egypt, but suddenly one of the officers from Air Force came and he stood on a podium and said, "Bharat jaane ke liye ready hai?" And they said that we are preparing the aircraft and we all will take you to India. And we were like, okay, we really want to go back.
Fantastic feeling.
And what do you have to say about the arrangement?
So good, so good. I feel I am in India.
With cameraman Uttam in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
And earlier, an Indian Air Force C-17 flight evacuated 165 Indian nationals from Israel. They were received by Minister of State Dr. L. Murugan upon arrival in Delhi on Tuesday morning. The aircraft landed at about 8:45 hours from Amman, Jordan. The first batch of 161 Indian nationals evacuated from Israel arrived in New Delhi on Tuesday morning. They safely arrived at 8:20 hours IST from Jordan. Minister of State Pavitra Margareta received them and said the safety and security of Indian nationals abroad remains the highest priority for the government. Moving on, NATO leaders gathered in The Hague for a summit focusing on boosting defense spending amid rising global tensions. At the summit, NATO leaders are expected to endorse a new defense spending target as demanded by US President Donald Trump, who is also due to join the leaders for a summit in the Dutch city. NATO members are also expected to agree on spending 5% of their gross domestic product, GDP, on the core defense and broader defense and security related investments. Discussions will also focus on Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Announced that we have a new package, a package that contains 100 drone radar systems, which are very important. Unmanned vehicles that can be used at the front line to bring back wounded soldiers. And also we have the drone initiative that we put about 80 million into developing drones in the Drone Alliance. But also we agreed or going to agree that we're going to produce drones in the Netherlands for Ukraine on your specifications.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was welcomed to The Hague by Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof ahead of the summit. Zelensky announced plans for co-producing drones with partner nations like the Netherlands. The Dutch Prime Minister unveiled a new military package that contains 100 drone radar systems, unmanned vehicles and 80 million euros for drone development.
I can announce that we have a new package, a package that contains 100 drone radar systems, which are very important. Unmanned vehicles that can be used at the front line to bring back wounded soldiers. And also we have the drone initiative that we put about 80 million into developing drones in the Drone Alliance. But also we agreed or going to agree that we're going to produce drones in the Netherlands for Ukraine on your specifications.
On the sidelines of the summit, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and US President Donald Trump are planning to meet on Wednesday in The Hague. The two leaders have been central figures at recent summits. However, Zelensky has not been invited to the main working session with NATO members. Apart from the ceasefire, the discussions are expected to focus on Ukraine's purchase of a defense package, a large part of which comprises air defense systems. The leaders would also discuss more sanctions against Russia and a price cap on oil. Latest in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, a Ukrainian drone struck a multi-story apartment building outside Moscow early on Tuesday, triggering fire and injuring 2 people. Moscow's governor confirmed that Russian air defenses had intercepted 2 Ukrainian drones heading for the city overnight. He added that the fire began on the 17th floor of the building in the town of Krasnogorsk and also said the injured were taken to the hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, waves of Russian drones and missiles in and around Kiev overnight killed 10 people. Residential areas and the entrance to a metro station bomb shelter is said to be damaged less than a kilometer from the US Embassy. Ukraine's Air Force said it had downed 339 of 352 drones and 15 out of 16 missiles launched by Russia in the attack on 4 Ukrainian regions. In another strike in the northeast of Ukraine, 3 people were killed and 3 injured by an overnight Russian strike on a village in the Sumy area on Tuesday. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Prime Minister Modi inaugurates centenary celebration of conversation between 2 of India's greatest spiritual leaders. India-Nepal bilateral talks on security issues held in Pune.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. And it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the centenary celebration of the historic conversation between 2 of India's greatest spiritual and moral leaders, Sri Narayana Guru and Mahatma Gandhi, on Tuesday in New Delhi. The celebrations bring together spiritual leaders and other members to reflect upon and commemorate the visionary dialogue that continues to shape India's social and moral fabric. It stands as a powerful tribute to the shared vision of social justice, unity and spiritual harmony championed by both the leaders. Highlighting India's capability, Prime Minister Modi said, Operation Sindhu made India's firm policy against terrorism very clear before the world. He added that India has shown that no place is safe for terrorists to spill Indians' blood.
दुनिया ने ये भी देखा है कि भारत का सामर्थ्य क्या है। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर आतंकवाद के खिलाफ भारत की कठोर नीति को दुनिया के सामने एकदम स्पष्ट कर दिया है। हमने दिखा दिया है कि भारतीयों का खून बहाने वाले आतंकियों के लिए कोई भी ठिकाना सुरक्षित नहीं है।
Sri Narayan Guru, a saint, philosopher and fearless social reformer from Kerala, who reshaped India's spiritual and social landscape. Here's a brief look at the man who preached unity in a divided society.
A revolutionary thinker who transformed the social fabric of India with his progressive thoughts. Born on August 22nd, 1856 in Chemparanti near Thiruvananthapuram, Sri Narayana Guru belonged to the Irava community, a section of society long subjected to caste discrimination. From these humble roots emerged a social reformer who challenged centuries-old hierarchies and orthodox traditions. Guru's message was simple yet powerful. One caste, one religion, one God for humanity. He consecrated a Shivalingam at Aruvipuram in 1888. A bold act defying Brahmin monopoly over temple rituals. Over his lifetime, he established more than 40 temples open to all castes, spreading a message of equality. Through institutions like the Shivagiri Math, Aluva Ashram and the SNDP Yogam, he championed education, spiritual upliftment and social reform for the marginalized. Guru's influence extended well beyond Kerala. During the Vaikom Satyagraha, his ideals of non-violence and dignity inspired national leaders, including father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi. The 1925 conversation with Mahatma Gandhi at Shivagiri became a landmark in the national narrative on caste and social justice. As a poet and philosopher, Guru penned works like Advaita Dipika and Daiva Dashakam, blending spirituality with social consciousness. Nearly a century after his passing, Sri Narayan Guru's legacy lives on, reminding us that real progress begins with equality, compassion and courage. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Tuesday met with Governor of South Australia, Francis Adamson. The leaders discussed education, space, water, agriculture, energy and consular issues. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval held a crucial meeting with China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Beijing. During the meeting, both the sides reviewed recent developments in India-China bilateral ties and underscored the need to promote overall development of India-China bilateral relations, including by fostering greater people-to-people ties. India's NSA also emphasized the need to counter terrorism in all its forms and manifestations to maintain overall peace and stability in the region. Views were also exchanged on other bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest. And on Tuesday, Alexander Vendikov, Deputy Secretary of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, called on NSA Ajit Doval on the sidelines of the 20th meeting of SCO Security Council Secretaries. The two sides discussed issues of bilateral, regional and international significance. The Russian side conveyed that they were looking forward to receiving NSA Doval in Russia for the next round of strategic dialogue at an early date. NSA Doval is visiting China to attend the 20th meeting of the SCO Security Council Secretaries. The 16th meeting of India-Nepal Bilateral Consultative Group on Security Issues was held in Pune on June 23rd and 24th, led by Additional Secretary Manu Mahawar from India and Joint Secretary Kahendra Raj Bhandari from Nepal. The talk saw participation from Defence and Foreign Ministry officials, along with representatives from both the armies. The two sides held wide-ranging discussions on defence, security cooperation, including training, joint exercises, equipment supplies and disaster relief. They also visited key defence manufacturing facilities to explore avenues for collaboration. Established in 2003, the body remains the primary institutional mechanism steering India-Nepal defence ties. India's 13th Passport Seva Divas, that is the Passport Service Day, was celebrated on Tuesday in New Delhi, marking a milestone in India's evolving passport service landscape. Minister of State for External Affairs Pavitra Margareta graced the event, applauded passport authorities across India and abroad for improving the efficiency, transparency and accessibility in passport delivery. As part of the event, Passport Seva Awards were conferred on regional passport officers for exemplary service. The celebration reflected India's strong push towards citizen-centric, globally connected passport ecosystem. The day's key announcement came from External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who unveiled Passport Seva Program 2.0 and confirmed the nationwide rollout of e-passports, a transformative step towards modernizing passport services. Let's turn to sports. In cricket, fifth and final day of the final test match between India and England is underway at Headingley in Leeds. England openers Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett made a cautious but solid start against India, chasing a target of 371 on the final day. England managed to survive the initial threat of Indian pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah and cross the 100-run mark comfortably. India will be hoping that pacers Mohammad Siraj and Prasidh Krishna and Shardul Thakur step up in the session after lunch. And DD India correspondent Narayan Singh joins us live. Narayan, how's the exciting game poised at the moment?
Shubhendu, when the match started in the morning, the match was looking absolutely poised and an advantage India was there. But right now in the first session, we saw India not able to just take any wicket off the England team. Right now they have passed 100 runs without any loss, and Jack Crawley and Ben Duckett are there, and already we can say they put on around 109 runs on the board. So India at least needed 2 or 3 wickets in the first session, and so far the first session is about to over. After 2 or 3 overs it will over, but India didn't got any wickets, so things are not looking flowery for the Indian team here, because India wants to win this match. At least they needed 2 or 3 wickets in the first session, and after that, if India didn't get any wicket in the first session, then England has a strong batting lineup. Right now still Jack Crawley and Ben Duckett are at the crease, and after that they have a Oli Pop at the number 3, and after that Joe Root will come, and then Harry Brook, and after that Ben Stokes. So a strong batting lineup lineup, and after that they will go for a baseball cricket. And we know that last time around in 2022, England chased down a 378-run target against India in Edgbaston. So again, the things are looking on the same side, and chasing, we know that in Test cricket a 300+ target is always going to be difficult. But England right now, with their approach, with a cautious approach, are very within the reach of the, we can say that 370-run target here. So all in all, we can say that India did few mistakes in this match. When in the first inning, when they were all out for 371, at that point of time, they had the chance to score 600+ run, and if they would have scored 600+ runs in the first inning, they would have knocked out England there only. But they lost 7 wickets for the loss of 41, and same in the second inning. So, but still, Bumrah is there. We can rely on the best bowler on the planet, Bumrah. If Bumrah does something special here, definitely India could have an upper hand.
Right, let's see how the game pans out after the lunch. Narayan, thank you for those updates. On to soccer now. French club Paris Saint-Germain defeated Seattle 2-0 to reach the knockout stage at Club World Cup. The League One winners, who suffered a shock defeat by Botafogo on Friday, were guaranteed a spot in the last 16 with a win over Seattle. With the result coupled with Atletico Madrid's 1-0 victory over Botafogo, PSG finished first in Group B with 6 points from the 3 games. They face Group A runners-up on Sunday, while Botafogo will play the winner from that group on Saturday. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on your screens to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.